Peace be upon you, and welcome to a new episode. On May 6th, 2021, a young woman named Basma, a university student at the beginning of her life. She had no one in this world but her mother. Basma had just finished her lectures at the university and tried to call her mother, an elderly woman, 61 years old. The phone rang once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. No answer. Basma's heart started beating faster because she knew her mother always answered her calls immediately. But soon, she would discover that, at that very moment, her mother was being attacked. An attack that would end her life. Those unanswered calls would become the mistake that uncovered a secret buried for 14 years. A secret that would open the door to even more crimes. Before we begin our story, don't forget to like and share this episode so it can reach as many people as possible, and stay tuned every Saturday, Monday, and Wednesday for a new episode. Without further delay, let's dive deep into our story. Our story begins in 2007 in El Qatar municipality within the Mazuna district, Gazaouet province. The man at the center of this entire story is Mubarak, or as people in the area used to call him, Sheikh Mubarak. He was around 25 years old at the time, married, and had young children. He owned a small bridal clothing shop in a strategic location near the main road. From the outside, Mubarak seemed like the perfect man, the kind of person everyone dreams of having in their neighborhood. Kind, religious, to the point where people called him a man of goodness. He prayed at the mosque every day, collected donations and charity from the rich in the area, and distributed them to the poor with his own hands. Everyone loved him. They trusted him blindly, without limits. If you wanted to keep your money, your gold, or even your family's secret safe, you'd go to him, because he was the one who would never betray. His family was an essential part of that perfect image. His mother, Fatika, who managed things behind the scenes at the shop and helped with distributing charity. His brothers, Belkacem, El Taib, and Hamid, who guarded the shop at night and helped him with everything. They all appeared to be a model family. Life in El Qatar municipality seemed peaceful and happy. But what no one knew, and what would make this story terrifying, was that inside Mubarak's mind, a dark, devilish idea was growing day by day. An idea rooted in greed, which would gradually evolve into a carefully crafted plan for crimes that would destroy many lives. For months before the first crime in 2007, Mubarak had been building this plan in his head, step by step. The first thing he did was observe the people who visited his shop daily, especially women or those who wore a lot of gold or who appeared to have extra money, like those who regularly gave generous charity. He calculated opportunities with chilling precision. When the street would be completely empty at the end of the day, when the municipality of Mazuna district was doing digging work near the shop, so he could use one of those holes as a perfect hiding spot. He also studied people's reactions when someone went missing, so he'd know how to behave, even become part of the search himself. The plan was simple at its core, but carefully designed to finish everything without leaving a strong smell or a clear trace. He even calculated that if a victim disappeared, the investigation would close quickly, because there were no cameras or witnesses in rural areas like El Qatar. And he would be right there, helping with the search, to divert suspicion. In the early days, guilt would haunt him, feelings of remorse or disturbing dreams. But he convinced himself that this was God's provision, and that those he killed were easy prey whom no one would really miss. Over time, that feeling vanished completely, replaced by an addiction to thrill and profit. Then came an ordinary day in 2007, the day Mubarak laid eyes on his first victim, KM, a 26-year-old woman standing on the street near his shop, wearing a lot of gold as she was on her way to a wedding in the nearby municipality of Sidi Ahmed Ben Ali, close enough to El Qatar to be reachable, but far enough to avoid suspicion. KM wasn't from the same neighborhood, but Mubarak knew her vaguely. People in Mazuna district often recognized each other from weddings and markets. She was completely alone, no one with her for protection, and the timing was perfect for his plan. The street was somewhat busy but not too crowded, and the municipality had just finished some digging work right in front of the shop. Mubarak approached her quietly, with that trustworthy smile everyone loved, and said a few innocent words to catch her attention, like asking for directions or about some charity work. She replied politely. She'd heard of him before, and he seized that exact moment, inviting her into the shop under the pretext of helping with charity. KM entered without hesitation or fear, because in everyone's eyes, his image was that of a perfect, righteous man. Inside the shop, Mubarak carried out the plan exactly as he had mapped it in his head, step by step, without any slip-ups. He locked the door very quickly, so no one could enter or hear, grabbed the large iron bar he used every day to lock the shelves, and attacked KM with fast, powerful blows to the head and body until she fell and lost consciousness completely, without a loud cry that would alert the neighbors. Then he removed all the gold she was wearing, the necklaces, bracelets, the ring, and put it in a small secret bag inside a drawer in the shop. After that, he wrapped the body in an old galabaya that was there and hid it temporarily in a buried corner under the back shelves, a place only he opened. Afterwards, he reopened the shop as if nothing had happened and started serving the customers who came, behaving as normal, and people didn't notice any change in him. He waited until the end of the day, around 8 p.m., when the street in El Qatar municipality had emptied completely, and moved the body alone under the cover of darkness. He went to the hole the municipality had dug in front of the shop for sewer work, dug a bit into the packed sand, threw the body inside to a depth of about 1 meter, and covered it with sand exactly as it had been so the workers wouldn't notice any disturbance in the morning. In the morning, the workers returned as usual, worked over it without noticing anything, filled the hole, paved the street, as if that secret had been buried beneath people's feet forever. Mubarak sold the gold secretly within a week, used the money in the shop, and life returned to normal. KM's family reported her missing to the police immediately, and the first investigation in Mazuna district began within hours. The police in El Qatar municipality formed a small team and started searching all the places she might have gone, like the main road from El Qatar to Sidi Ahmed Ben Ali. They questioned neighbors in the area, checked markets and the weddings she was supposed to attend, and investigated the possibility of travel or escape. They interrogated the family for many hours, asking about her relationships, any family disputes, and the last place they saw her. Then they examined her phone and found the last call was routine, with no sign of a sudden disappearance. They checked hospitals and mortuaries in Ghazawat province, and even neighboring areas, but there were no witnesses and no surveillance cameras in that rural area at the time. The shop never fell under suspicion because Mubarak was helping with the search himself. He walked the streets with them, consoled the family, and prayed with them at the mosque every day. The investigation continued for months, about 6 months in total. They checked the cars that passed on the street and questioned hundreds of shop customers, but everything came up empty, no physical evidence, no trace of the missing gold, and people speculated that KM maybe ran away from a family problem or traveled. In the end, they officially filed the case as a mysterious disappearance, and closed it without a resolution, promising to reopen it if new evidence appeared. Mubarak saw this as a major success. His greed grew in his heart, and he began thinking about a second crime, though he gave himself a long time to arrange his thoughts so as not to draw attention, and continued to build his image as a man of charity more every day. Years passed slowly from 2008 to 2010, and Mubarak continued to widen the circle of people's trust in him. The shop grew, he stocked more goods, and people entrusted him with larger and larger valuables, whole families' gold. And his family became an essential part of the cover. His mother managed the daily charity, his brothers guarded the shop at night and helped distribute donations, and they all appeared as a tightly knit family. But in 2011, his greed struck harder than before, and Mubarak decided it was time to expand the plan and no longer act alone. The new scheme was more complex and dangerous. First, involve his brother Belkacem in the planning. Convince him that this is a big opportunity for the family. We'll split the loot evenly, and no one will know because of the trust we've built. Belkacem hesitated for days and feared the risk, but Mubarak pressured him with long arguments, telling him, "People trust us more than anyone, and the family will be stronger with this money." After weeks, Belkacem agreed, and Mubarak continued to implicate others, telling his wife the whole secret and threatening her if she thought of reporting or refusing, saying, "You are part of the family. If you speak out, you will regret it." One day, in 2011, Mubarak's eye fell on a second victim, Yamina, a 58-year-old woman, a very close neighbor in El Qatar municipality. She was financially comfortable, had inherited large tracts of land from her family, and wore gold worth 80 million centimes, about $6,000, a huge sum which made her a perfect target. Yamina was an old, trusted customer who gave him large donations every month. She considered him like a brother or son and would speak to him about her property without fear. Mubarak watched her for weeks, noting her daily schedule. He learned she usually walked alone at around 12:30 p.m., when the street was somewhat busy but not crowded, the ideal time. He approached her calmly and invited her into the shop under an innocent pretext like, "I have some new charitable goods and need your help." Yamina entered without hesitation because her trust in him was absolute. Belkacem stood outside as a guard so no one would enter suddenly. Inside the shop, Mubarak carried out the plan exactly, step by step, with Belkacem's help. The plan was like the last time with one grim difference. They cut the body in two with a sharp tool. One half was taken by Mubarak to his home in El Qatar and buried under the pavement in the backyard about 1 meter deep. The other half was taken by Belkacem to his nearby home and buried in an old cesspit covered with dirt. They took Yamina's phone, opened it, and sent a fake message to her 7 children saying, "I'm fine, don't worry. I'll be gone for a few days and will return." A grave mistake because Yamina was completely illiterate and did not know how to write or send messages. But at the time, no one noticed the contradiction. Mubarak secretly sold the gold within days, split the loot equally with his brother, and life returned to normal, with the community's trust in them even greater. Yamina's family reported her missing to the police immediately in 2011, and a second investigation in Mazuna district began the same day. The police assembled a team and examined her phone first. They found the fake message, but initially considered it natural because it appeared harmless. They questioned her children about the last time they saw her relationships, and any disputes over the land she had inherited. Then they questioned neighbors in El Qatar, asked about her daily routine, checked markets and mosques she frequented, and investigated the possibility of theft or a family dispute. The investigation lasted a full 3 months. They checked cars that passed the street, searched hospitals and morgues in Gazaway province and even neighboring areas, but they found no trace of the body or the gold, and the fake message somewhat reassured the family. In the end, they again closed the case as a mysterious disappearance, filing it unsolved with a note that it might be a personal matter. Mubarak saw an even greater success and began involving his other brothers in the secret. From 2012 to 2020, Mubarak gradually expanded the network. First, he recruited his friend Zin, a gold dealer in Gazaway province, who helped him sell the stolen items anonymously in exchange for a small cut. His mother began helping burn any remains if needed, using plastic bottles and metal drums in a secret spot behind the houses. His wife later confessed that he threatened her daily, saying, "You know everything. If you report me, your fate will be like the others." The new plans became more complex. They would watch victims for weeks or months, calculate routines to the hour, and use the trust built through charity as their main cover. He studied the mistakes of previous investigations, such as the lack of deep phone forensics, and adjusted his plans accordingly. That period was comparatively quiet, but the greed inside him boiled, and he continued building his empire of trust. On May 6, 2021, the third crime took place, the one that changed everything. Mariam, a 61-year-old widow from El Qatar municipality, had only her adopted daughter Basma. Her late husband had left her a large piece of agricultural land in Mazuna district, and she decided to sell it so she could live a comfortable life after his death. But she was afraid of her late husband's 4 sons, who might covet the inheritance, so she turned to Mubarak, the kind man, to help her handle the legal sale. Mubarak had known about the sale for weeks. He had been observing Mariam daily and figured that the money and the gold she owned would be a massive gain. This time, the plan was a bit different since the victim knew him well. He decided to go with her to the court in Gazaway province, assist her with the official transfer, wait until she collected the money, let her return home alone in the afternoon, then attack her at her house where there would be no nearby witnesses, steal the money and gold immediately, and finally disguise himself in her clothes, her hijab and khimar, to look like an ordinary woman, cover his face, and escape to his shop without arousing suspicion. He thought Basma's phone calls wouldn't cause any problems, but that was his fatal mistake. On May 6th, Mariam went to the court in Gazaway province with Mubarak. She completed the property transfer, received the full payment, and returned home in the afternoon. While she was home, Basma, who was at university, tried calling her 5 times or more. The repeated ringing confused and panicked Mubarak, who was with her at the house, and in a moment of fear and rage, he attacked her, stabbing her 12 times with a knife all over her body. He stole her gold but, in his panic, left the money in the drawer, then put on her clothes, covered his face, and ran back to his shop. At the corner near El Qatar, a policeman on duty saw him, a suspicious woman walking fast, with bloodstains on her clothes, entering the shop and locking the door. The officer was puzzled, but didn't interfere at first, thinking she was just another woman. Later, Basma returned home to find her mother's lifeless body. The room soaked in blood, the money still in the drawer. She screamed and the neighbors called the police, who arrived within minutes. The investigation began immediately. The police examined the scene thoroughly. 12 deliberate stab wounds, blood everywhere, money still there but gold missing. A clear robbery motive. The first suspicion fell on Basma because she was the adopted daughter. She was interrogated for hours, questioned in detail about her day, her phone, and her messages. But her alibi was solid. She was at university, with many witnesses among students and professors confirming it. Next, the investigators turned to the 4 stepsons of the deceased husband. They were questioned, their phone records and locations checked, but each had a strong alibi. One worked at a factory, another was a university student far away. There was no physical evidence against them. On May 7th, the forensic report confirmed the wounds were deliberate, not accidental, and not the result of a robbery gone wrong. The knife used was a common type, nothing distinctive. A few hours later, witnesses in the street spoke about the suspicious woman who had left Miriam's house at the same time as the murder, and the policeman reported everything he saw. The police immediately headed to the shop. Mubarak at first refused to allow a search, saying, "Where's the official warrant? I'm a respectable man. You can't search without authorization." But they detained him and searched the shop thoroughly. Inside, they found women's clothing, the hijab and khimar, still covered in very fresh blood. The forensic test on May 7th confirmed the blood belonged to Miriam exactly. Under hours of relentless interrogation, Mubarak broke down and confessed, saying, "I did it. I wanted the gold and the money. I helped her with the sale so I could know every detail. But the phone calls confused me." The lead officer, sensing something deeper because of how calm and methodical Mubarak sounded, not like a panicked killer, asked him, "This isn't your first time, is it? Tell the whole truth." That's when Mubarak began to tell everything, from the very beginning. The first confession was about the 2007 murder. He said, "When I saw all that gold, I felt greedy. I planned everything in detail, lured her in, hit her with an iron bar, hid her body, and at night I moved her to a pit. The workers filled it with dirt without knowing what was underneath. Police dug up the street in front of his shop and found a decomposed body from the years that had passed. DNA confirmed it was KM within days. The investigation into the old case was reopened. Records were re-examined, families questioned again, and a map of the disappearance was redrawn. The second confession was about Yamina. He described exactly what he did to her and how he convinced Belkacem to help him. On May 12th, police dug at Mubarak's house and at Belkacem's house. They found skeletal remains. DNA confirmed the bones belonged to Yamina. After that, Belkacem was interrogated. He broke down and confessed to everything. Then the entire family was arrested after it was discovered that they were all involved. Fatika confessed she helped burn the remains in plastic barrels, saying she did it because she was afraid for her son and her family. El Taib and Hamid admitted helping their brother bury his victims. The wife confessed to covering up the crimes, but claimed her husband was violent and she feared he might harm her. Zin was arrested on May 14th and confessed to selling the stolen gold. The large-scale investigation continued for months. Detectives suspected there were even more crimes, but Mubarak confessed to only 4. On June 1st, 2021, while digging at Mubarak's house, police found the burned bones of a child aged between 5 and 10 years old, identity unknown. At first, Mubarak denied it, but later admitted that the child had been with one of the victims and that he killed him to leave no witnesses behind. On March 15, 2022, the Gazaway court sentenced Mubarak to death for murdering 4 victims and sentenced his family members to prison terms ranging from 3 to 15 years. In July 2023, the final death sentence was upheld but not carried out because in Algeria, death sentences are not executed. Therefore, Mubarak remains imprisoned for life in one of Algeria's prisons. My friends, the story of Mubarak is a lesson in greed. May God have mercy on the victims and hold evil accountable. And that's the end of today's episode. If this is your first time watching the channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new stories. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.